Hey.
You know what? Oh, let's see. Well,
Yeah. Rough room.
that's why we weren't logged in still, and you tried to log out.
Very good.
That's exactly why.
Did it time out?
Yeah, timed out, and then you hit the log out. I haven't put it. I actually. Hi, I'm Greg Henson. I'm going to be presenting my project job manager today. As a little bit for me, I've actually been in the ambulance field for a little over 7 years here. Spent 4 years out in Southern California working in the South Los Angeles area, and then ended up getting married and moving out here. Been working out here for a little over 3 years. I find that, usually when I'm talking to people, it's when they're in dire need of my help. So if you would bear with me, it's a little different for me today. So the reason I decided to go from job finder to job manager is because to me the project really more or less didn't seem like I was finding jobs, but more or less that I was managing the jobs I had already found. So if you look at the main page, we got our home page, we have our jobs, our companies, our contacts, our communications, and email for admin, since one day I do plan to make this a multi-user site. You just scroll down the bottom, please. As you can see, I have bubbles to go to each of the 3 main pages in jobs, companies, and contacts. Each one of those bubbles gives a little brief description about what it is, and if you click on the view button, it'll take you right there. Alright, scroll all the way down low, please. One of the things I decided to add to this site was a nice bar at the bottom that showed all the top jobs by how many communications they had, top companies by job listings, and top contacts by how many communications they had. There's actually a code snippet in the packet of the actual form view that I used for this. I found that there was a problem between Ajax and ASP, that in the controls there was a naming conflict. So I actually had to go ahead and create a form view that had a list item in it in order to get the shared results. Also, if you hover over any of the options, go ahead and hover over one of the options you'll notice that an extender pops up telling you how many total communications or how many total jobs that company has, that company or contact has. Would you mind going to the companies page, please? All right. So you'll notice here's my companies page. We have a select button with a little icon of the company logo, company name, and a link to view jobs like many of the other sites you'll see. These are all the controls when you're logged out. You can actually see by selecting each item all the information about it. So this is the company Hello World, industry they're in retail, all the nice information. I actually used a table on this version just to show that you can use a table. All of my other form views are using divs. I just want to show that you could use a table. So if you click back and then go log in one. After logging in, you can see there's a little trash can button on the side. This is what we like to call soft delete. Turns the company from active to inactive. That way, you don't accidentally delete a company you're interested in. As far as companies go, I figured, job postings come and go, contacts come and go. Companies that I want to know about are always going to be solid. So this is where I actually put the main focus of my site. You can go ahead and select another company. Go ahead and select Wild Goose. you notice that icon now turns into a full-fledged image. The way I did this was, in my database, I wanted to keep my database normalized. So under the first normal form, you don't want to have any repeating forms. So I said to myself, if I wanted 10 more images for the company later, I didn't want to have to keep adding columns. So what I did was, in my code behind, which this is part of the other snippet in there, I set it so every image is set up with the ID number of the company. So in the database for Wild Goose Labs, since it's the first one, it would be one.file extension. So the grid view pulls from comp icons, whereas the form view pulls from comp logos, both using the same information from the database. The other problem I had with this is, what if they only uploaded one picture? I still wanted 2 pictures. So if you would scroll down to the bottom one and click the Add Company button that is now there that you've logged in, we have companies. This is the form view for showing, adding something. So we'll go WGL, we'll go web development, we'll go active hiring. Well, I'll go ahead and just add one to the large logo. You don't need to add all the other information, just add a large logo there. We'll go with the WGL emblem there. Now go ahead and hit insert. Have a modal pop-up come up for all of my validators. It says that a company phone number is required. So go ahead and put in a 555-555, and then go ahead and hit insert. Go back up and hit companies again. Go back down, select Wild Goose Lab, or select Add Company.
Did you turn on write access to that directory out on GoDaddy?
Yes, and it was actually working when we were testing. That's WGL. Put the phone number, and then browse the image. Alright. Well, it was working earlier, but as we can see, I need to go back and fix something. But what would have happened is, it would have taken that one image that you had there, squeezed it down into the small area in the grid view, and also posted it in the form view. So if we go back to the grid view, go ahead and select View Jobs for Wild Goose Labs. Takes you to all jobs for Wild Goose Labs. Now, I don't have a reset button like Juan did, but you go back up and click on jobs. Here's my form view for all my jobs. It also has the soft delete button, as well as the ability to select, if you would kindly select that first one for me, please, Juan. Here are the divs that I use to actually set up the job information. You have the job title up top, all the job information on the side, and the details about the actual posting. You can also edit these, but since you've already seen an edit insert feature, we will skip that part. As for contacts, if you want to go on over to contacts for me, Juan. Here's all the contacts. It's basically exactly the same as the jobs page. You click on, if you select a contact, gives you a picture of the company that they're with, gives you a brief description of who they are. So if you go to communications now, Juan, this is the other part of the site I found really important, because it's you talking to people about the jobs that you want. You want to be able to see all your past, communications with any of the contacts you have. The other thing about this was I wanted it to feel like an email, because in this day and age, most of us communicate by email. I wanted to have that feel to it, so it was just normal to you. So if you go ahead and click entry-level ASP.NET Web Developer, scrolls down, communications, the actual communication is in the middle, along with the type of communication and whether or not follow-up is required. On the left, I want to show the job company for that job that you're inquiring about. And on the right, the contact, since possibly you could be talking about to another contact about a company they don't technically work with. This also has the edit feature, which if you go ahead and click it one, pops right back up inside that same pane from that accordion. You can go ahead and cancel. This delete button on this page is the only hard delete, because eventually you're going to have a lot of communications. You just want to get rid of one of them. So clicking on that, you would get rid of it. Now, if one you go up to new communication and click on that, I felt it was really important to be able to see a the new communication pane while looking at a communication. I originally went with a extendable panel, but then realized I couldn't get the speed on the extendable panel, so I went against normal convention and went with a separate accordion control there, since I really liked the flow of the opening and wanted to have that the same as the rest of everything. Other than that, I had a couple of hard issues with this, namely the naming conventions between ASP and AJAX, the fact that I needed to get those two images to upload together, even if you only put one. All in all, it was a lot of work, and a lot of my classmates actually helped me with a few things, and I actually enjoy the fact that I have some people, a group of people that I can come to help me out with everything. So that's my job manager. And any questions? Yes.
I really like that design right there, to be able to see your
Yes.
all your when you're having a conversation with someone. The last one was a month ago. To be able to see it, I really like that, and so I just wanted to comment. So I really like that. But my question is, so you started saying that one of your pages uses a table, but everything else uses div tags. I'm guessing there's a reason, compelling reason for
I
the
just
div
wanted to
tag
be able to
solution.
show that you can get the same, look almost using a table as opposed to.
Well, I mean, my question is, so you decided to use div tags for
Yes.
mostly for a reason. So is that for CSS? Is that for just because you prefer
Because-
the freedom or what?
Really, I like the freedom of divs better. I work with them better. And it's just the ability to use the CSS and the HTML instead of having the rigid form of the table. That's why I like more about the divs.
Just looking at your database diagram a little bit, and it's nice that you're on a communications page. This is what it's about. But I noticed that in your relationship between communications, then off to job postings, then off to contacts, that you left your job post ID foreign key as a nullable foreign key. Was there anything that you had to do code-wise in your SQL to kind of work with that nullable foreign key inside that communications table?
I did do something that I am not remembering exactly what I did.
Okay.
But it really involved a lot of the code behind is what I used to actually set that up.
You remember why you made the decision to leave that one? Because you got contact ID as a required field.
The reason I decided to leave that as nullable is the simple fact that you could be communicating with somebody, but it didn't have to necessarily be about a job specifically.
Very good.
Any other questions?
You mentioned your group as a resource that you relied on from time to time. What other resources, because you did quite a few things that were probably a little bit above what we necessarily went through directly in class. What sort of resources did you rely on to help you through some of these things?
One word, Google. Google is your friend. There's a lot of jokes out there that say, this is why I get paid $45,000, and there's a picture of a Google search bar. But in all actuality, Google is your best resource. Even if you have to wade through, 10 things that don't actually pertain to it, it's actually your best resource.
Anything else? All right, very good.